would you mind, would you mind just sending him that Zoom link, or do you want me to do it?
Let me see. Is he using the Mad Labs email?
Probably, yes.
Oh.
Okay,
I'll send it over. It's just gonna take me a second.
okay. Thanks very
Thank
much.
you, Dean.
All right, great. So we have a quorum. We can get started. So we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll do a roll call. And starting with Mark Allen, chair, and moving on.
Brian Casper, a voting member.
Janet, voting member.
Liz Tardiff. I guess I'm a voting member, yeah.
Yep, you are.
You've been sworn in.
Okay, voting.
Bob Abriola, voting member, vice chair.
And who else do we have there? Do we have
Dean Roberts, voting member.
Oh, very good. And
Nori's
Nori?
there.
Lost your voice again, Nori.
We can't hear you, Nori.
Can't hear
Just
you.
give us a thumbs up. There you go, voting member.
Okay.
Mark,
we heard
just-
you before.
Mark-
See if you can.
Just as an FYI, for any voting that happens tonight, it needs to be roll call voted now.
What do you mean? What does that mean, roll call? So
So
I
you
state
have-
the name.
Yeah, and then they have to say yay or nay.
Yeah, I think that's the best way anyway, because
Yeah, they changed the laws so that we have to do that for virtual meetings now, so just flagging it.
okay, fair enough. That makes
Do you
sense.
want me to share the agenda?
Sure. Yes, that would be great. I have it open here. You can share it with the group. That would be fantastic. Okay, so we've done the roll call. For public participation, we do have Oksana here, but she's an agenda item to come up later. So as is Weverson under old business. So is there anybody else, Sabrina?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm just wondering. So what time you will invite me to the conversation, Sabrina? Thank you so much for bringing me to the conversation. But it's gonna be in the beginning, middle, or the end?
It would be towards the. It'd be probably about, I would say, 45 minutes from now, roughly, to an hour.
Because I'm in the middle of the event, I can join the 30 minutes. Is that okay?
Your voice is cutting out a bit.
That's fine if you want to jump back off in a couple minutes and come back later. That's fine.
Yeah. In 30 minutes, I will come back.
Okay,
That would be
sounds
fine.
good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mark, just a suggestion so that when the public comes into these meetings, maybe we should change the agenda around so that they're not sitting through the whole waiting.
You can suspend the rules and just move around.
Yeah, because that kind of tough, right? Someone wants to join and then they got to wait an hour.
Well, I mean, it is it's not really public participation in that they are on the agenda as new business.
Just
I mean,
a thought.
I suppose we could put Sabrina, is there anything against putting new business at the top of the agenda?
You'd have to abstain the rules, vote to abstain the rules, and then move it.
Okay. Okay, so that's.
I'm not saying we do it now, just
Yeah.
for consideration when we have somebody that's coming in they don't have to wait till the end to talk.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, moving forward, we need to approve the minutes of the June 1st regular meeting. Does anybody have any issues with it as it was emailed out by Maritza?
No issues here.
Okay, in that case, do we have a motion from anybody to approve the minutes as noted in the email?
I make a
I'll-
motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, I'll second. Bob Ebriola, I will second.
Who was the first one?
Liz Tardif.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. All right, so I'm gonna do the roll call vote. I just want to find the list. Names, hold on one second. Okay, I'll start with myself, Mark Allen, I. Can I have a vote for Brian Casper?
Brian Casper, aye.
Nori Gruden,
Aye.
Janet Evelyn, sorry. Let me unmute you. Oh, you're muted.
Abstaining, I was not at the last meeting.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Elizabeth Tardif,
Aye.
Bob Abriola,
Aye.
I'm sorry, not Kadeen Roberts,
Aye.
and that's all we have. Okay, so the ayes carry. We can move forward to the Budget Committee update from Nori and Sabrina. Sabrina, Nori, if you want to start.
I'm just looking at this now, so Sabrina might want to start. 'Cause I've been working, so it looks like, let's see what the expenditures we had. The only thing from last month that I can see that we spent was the 300, correct me if I'm wrong, $333 for the booth at the Nice Festival, and I can get the other, I'll do all the funding tonight, so I'll send everything out to you, but if Sabrina has anything to forward.
Nope, that's correct. The only thing we took out of this year was for the Nice Festival. Everything else came out of last year funds, so we only have that expense.
Sabrina, as far as the items that you had printed for events, did that come out of this, or did that come
No,
out?
I covered that with my
Oh.
budget.
Do you have to back it out of this budget at some point?
No, nope.
Okay.
So Sabrina, we're starting with a new budget effective July 1st for the 21-22 year. Is-
Yep,
That's what we're looking at?
that's what this is. Yep.
Okay, and so what is the entire budget for? Is it
Uh,
1,500? No.
I would have to add up all these numbers, but that's what it is.
I see, okay, yeah. And were there any carryovers from the previous year? Because I know I think
No,
that-
we spent all of it this go around.
The majority of it was spent on the banners on Wall Street. No,
Our
It's not
budget's
normal.
$14,400, and then we have $25 additional thousand dollars in a capital account.
For the capital budget.
Correct.
The majority wasn't spent on the banners though, Nori, for Washington.
no,
Yeah,
because we
I-
spent like
No,
5,000.
the balance though.
Oh,
Was
maybe
the
the
balance.
balance.
The
Yeah,
balance.
I don't want everyone to think that we spent 14,000 on banners.
No, nobody thinks that.
So, maybe what might be useful, is, Nori, I don't know, is to send us like a little, recap of the last year's budget and what that covered. Because I think that there were some surpluses and carryover on that, with that budget. From
Yeah,
what
I can
remember.
resend it because
Yeah,
because we didn't have, we had carryover 1920 and then 2021.
2019 carryover.
Yeah. And then all that money was spent.
So Nori, maybe just like a year-end close document that basically summarizes the year. I think that,
Yeah, I can do that.
yeah, that's easy enough.
Did anybody else have any other questions about the budget?
So just one question, the total of these numbers, which I think comes to 12,530, is that the budget for the coming year?
Sorry, it's a little difficult for me to understand what you're saying.
Yes, so the numbers that we're looking at right now, is that, if we total them, that's the number, that's the amount for the budget?
Yes, moving forward, that is the budget
Yes.
as of July 1st.
That's this year's budget. We start July, Liz.
Yeah, and this one is the summary of last year's budget. So all of it's gonna be spent at the end of this. So this is what's left, but we still have pending invoices, so it'll all be gone.
Okay.
It's about 14,000 a year, Liz.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the only thing, the only issue, this is really not a budget issue. I guess it's more of a communications issue, so we'll hold off on that. But I think if there's nothing else, we can move forward. On the communication side, which is the next agenda item, there's really nothing new to add except that we did vote for additional funds to go to Michelle for administrating a newsletter from the Arts Commission, and that was going to start in July, and since we didn't meet in July, there was really no progress made on that. So the plan is to start that for August. So as of now, I mean, that's the plan. Michelle's not here, so I'll have to speak with her offline about how to organize that. But generally speaking, I'm going to be relying on members of the communications committee to help with that, and primarily in terms of gathering the information that we want to impart. And of course, we'll be taking ideas and input from all the commission members. But the idea for the newsletter is to be an extension, say, of our social media, communicating to the Norwalk arts community the work of the commission and so forth, and sharing opportunities for our artists.
What's the frequency, Mark? Quarterly?
We haven't decided, but we were going to start with quarterly and move towards monthly.
Okay.
And that's really all I have for social media or communications. So we can move on to Brian for the infrastructure committee update.
Just unmuting myself. Okay, so infrastructure. First, we were, set to have something to report to the voting body in regards to the MLK project, but we don't have all the information on that right now, so we don't really have anything to report or to vote on or to present. But we are working to have that ready for the September meeting. Additionally, there's a couple things that we had a meeting, early July. Unfortunately, only Bob and Janet were there, but I sort of presented a couple ideas that I wanted to explore for the infrastructure committee, and they're relatively straightforward. Let me see my notes. First and foremost was creating a database of building and or landlord/property owners who are open to the idea of the Arts Commission utilizing their spaces for future projects, just so we can call upon them when needed and when we have specific timelines and deadlines. And then the other side of that would be creating a database of artists, both locally, nationally, internationally. Because I've seen a number of open calls on websites like Submittable that are just kind of forever open calls. Give us your information. if we like what we see, we'll contact you kind of proposals. So I think it's worth our time to do that. So that way, when these capital funds and things do come up, we could potentially reach out to some of those people to utilize them for public art projects. So it's a combination of creating spaces, or sorry, getting a database of spaces as well as artists that when opportunities arise, we can kind of put people together. And I remember us talking about this a long time ago, where I think there are building owners, for instance, I read from Fischel, and Hal Fischel is all about public art, but doesn't really know where to look or who to turn to. So it'd be great if we, as the Arts Commission, were able to facilitate that or connect, not only when there's actual city funds to be spent on it, but also when there's just people who want to stick art in the world. So that's something I want to work on. And I think it'd be relatively easy to execute. It's just a matter of reaching out to a lot of people. In addition to that, well, before I continue, questions, comments, anything? Mark, you're muted. Still muted.
The host muted everybody at one point. Brian, how do you suggest we go out and tackle like finding like these locations?
So,
is it really just kind of hunt and seek?
Kinda. I mean, some of the stuff that I've done around town has literally just been knocking on doors and asking not only business owners, but also, I'm sorry, not only landlords, property owners, but also business owners. Because if, there's a business owner who has something and they have a wall and they're renting that from the landlord and they want to put something exciting on the side of it, I think we should have that conversation and help facilitate that. I think it's really a matter of just us as the infrastructure committee reaching out. We can start with the easy stuff, which is the big property owners, the Fischels and Milligans of Norwalk, and then slowly whittling our way down to some of the smaller business owners, identifying spaces. I mean, I know we all walk around, I do at least, walk around and see blank walls and think, man, a mural will be really great on that wall. Let's find out who owns that building, contact them and see if they're be open to it, and letting the Arts Commission at least help to commission things for those spaces when they do pop up, when there's money available. I think whoever
Can I
said
ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious because I've thought about things similar to this, and I mean, it's exciting to see the city getting behind it and trying to kind of go from that angle. I think like long term, could there, like, if this is more of a bigger and citywide type of thing, is there a potential for like the city, and I don't know what the actual terminology is, but to create like either funds or incentives, like I don't know if it's like tax credits or even grants for like these business owners. Let's say like their business, retail or whatever, or even like residential business and building owners, to get an incentive from the city, rather like be like, I don't know what it could be, right? Like what if like a landlord, because I think sometimes a landlord might think it's a cool idea, but it might be too much trouble to even like entertain it, right? As an artist, we're super excited. Sometimes we even pay for the paint. But if there's even less of friction, like if, let's say an artist who most likely will be the person to like reach out to this property owner, and he goes, hey, you have an awesome wall. I'm an artist. I love to put a positive message here. And the city actually provides business owners who facilitate public art projects, whatever, like $1,000 or whatever we could offer these businesses for you to facilitate this, right? Then that way, like and essentially it's just almost allowing more prosperity, where like a business owner would say, oh, wow, like, okay, all I do is do nothing. All I have to do is sign a paper and either I get a couple bucks.
I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal. And I think most landlords are game if they really have almost no involvement, with the exception of permission. I'm not proposing that these landlords foot the bill for this stuff necessarily. I mean, hell, if they want to give us money, I'll take it. But I don't think that's realistic. But for instance, we have, what the capital funds and things like that we can potentially allocate. We can start to create our own sort of mural program. Or if, let's say one day, for instance, city of Ann Arbor has the Bright Walls Festival, and it's this massive citywide, a small town, citywide mural festival that they, you know, they have already identified locations, and it's a matter of just putting a call out for artists. And so I think it's really easy for the Arts Commission as being the hub to potentially connect these two things together.
Hmm.
In terms of incentives, I know that there are certain zoning things. Milligan came to us to approve a light thing that gave him some sort of benefit. I'm not sure the details of that, but there are a couple things like that because public art is considered an amenity, a public amenity. So potentially, I mean, effectively, we get money that we can allocate out, and as we are more successful with these things moving forward, I imagine that that money will kind of keep rolling in and keep adding to the budget. So I think it's entirely possible.
So Brian, if I can jump in, I think there's two components here. One thing is like you're talking about like a program for like Weber's, and you're talking about more like a program level thing, and that's a great idea. But I think for the purposes of this discussion right here, within the infrastructure committee, we really started with the idea of building this database of these people. And I got muted before I wanted to jump in there. Sabrina, could I share my screen for a second? We
You should
have
be able to
within
now.
we have within the database in the Google Drive this database that we had begun going back when I was doing the infrastructure committee. The idea was I started off with you know, we were trying to assemble all of the arts related businesses in Norwalk. We wanted to get all of the arts 501c3, all the nonprofits who are arts related, arts organizations, all the festivals, and then to build out this database of the artists themselves. And the reason for this database was, and you can see I've sorted some of the work that had been done had been to divide it up into the different, there's music related, there's dance related, there's record labels, there's art centers, there's galleries, there's all sorts of levels to the arts community. And what I think is that when you build this database, you're essentially building, this is the digital representation of our arts community. And I see and I just on a more macro level, I see the role of the Arts Commission to be the connective tissue between those entities. So whatever other opportunities that can get created out of that, I'm for all of it, you know. But I think, you know, when I was building this database, it was just me. I was hoping to get more people involved. Now, Brian, you're heading up infrastructure, so I think that you have at least here the start of a database. And I love the idea here. Let's just do it right now. Let's put in a new sheet and let's call it, you know,
Properties,
let's call
locations.
it, you know, private building owners.
Yeah, and I think
You know,
so I guess I'm happy to continue what Mark has already started, and it's something that I think as the infrastructure committee can be an ongoing thing that we just keep adding to. As I've mentioned, Hal Fischel's my landlord. I've already had conversations with him. He's already given me the green light on 3 spaces personally. I know he's behind it. So it's just a matter of as those things kind of come up and we pound the pavement and try to, you know, meet people. We all know different people in this town. Why not have that conversation? Say, would you be interested in this idea? Let's put you on this list so we can contact you when these opportunities come up. So it's simple. It's a bunch of work, but it's simple. And I think you're exactly right, Mark, to be the sort of connective tissue that makes these things happen.
and when I first became involved with infrastructure, I really jumped at it because to me, I saw that as really exciting from a networking point of view. When you can be like, reach out to the business owners and be like, and talk to them about the arts related things that they're doing and becoming that, you know, that those interconnections, building that. That's what I'm all about. But
Yeah.
From those introductions is where opportunities get created for art.
Exactly. And as more of that work happens around the town, more building owners are going to see it and want to get involved, and it's just going to snowball from there. So,
Hey, Brian, I was wondering,
Might I add, Mark, I think it's wonderful that you've expanded on that work in terms of building that database, but you know, that was initiative that was started long before Susan Wallenstein had retired from the group. And we had started to work on a program that identified multiple venues, again, arts organization, and I'm sure that database includes many of the, whether they're arts organizations, whether they're galleries, whether they're venues, whether they're artists, that was a part of that from, you know, and in fact, I was involved in, instrumental in creating the first set of database for
Yeah,
that.
it was really well done. The only thing that I found a challenge for me was that I had gotten a PDF of it, which I really wanted just to make it, turn it into I actually used all of the venues that were in your database, and I just tried to put it into the Google Drive format simply so that it could be clickable and, you know.
Yeah,
and
no, I'm glad to see that you have expanded on it. I'm glad to see that you have created all of these different tabs that are there and to make it more user friendly.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, that has always been a part of the goal and initiative to kind of coalesce and bring all of these different, to know what our resources and our assets are.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more.
If I could jump in, I think Philadelphia is a very good example of how something like this could work. You know, they work it through a nonprofit kind of angle, where they kind of empower, you know, artists within the city and from abroad. But that also, you know, like you said, connecting the tissue, that also brings in the corporate side. So we have quite a few corporate entities in the city of Norwalk and nearby that, you know, are a great resource for funds and for certainly for, you know, like scaling anything that you want to do. You know, I think you could look to Philadelphia for those examples.
Absolutely.
Totally true. I think this is a really exciting time for the Arts Commission because we're now moving into these, you know, creating opportunities and commissioning artwork and seeing new things created. And I think it's a very exciting time, and I'm looking forward to everything that comes. from it.
Are we not discussing the MLK project in this, or did we move on from that, or?
No, we are.
Are we addressing
We are.
that?
Brian was just giving his infrastructure introduction. That's definitely next on our agenda here.
Yeah, I had one last I had a comment though. So to get the word out, Brian, I think, you know, it's a great idea to talk to the business owners. Maybe there's events that we can go to, like through the Chamber of Commerce or, you know, wherever the business owners are going, different groups, we can have a commission member go to that meeting and kind of talk through versus knocking on doors. I mean, it's always.
Yeah, well, it's network. I mean, we all know different people. I mean, I live in West Norwalk. I mean, going to the West Norwalk, you know, neighborhood association and just kind of throwing the case out there.
Yep.
You never know who knows.
It'd be great if we can be a part of, I don't know, some kind of a city group or, like I said, Chamber of Commerce, something where you have a lot of business owners maybe attending. That's where maybe we can have a say or a voice at a meeting like that.
Absolutely.
I'd like to make a point. There's a really good connection between the art and real estate. And there's a lot of businesses that often would love to be involved just for the basic, you know, exposure, business, you know, connection in the community. So this is something I think is really worth exploring because we read over and over when you bring art into the community, it really elevates the community and it elevates the interest in the community and property values and all that. So we can really, like myself, I'm in both real estate and art. And so it's a really strong connection for me. And I have a huge list of local artists just from being an art consultant, just have artists, and then also out of area artists and the work that I do at the gallery in Fairfield too. So I feel like I can contribute a lot to that. And then also to venues and also to the selling of the idea to businesses and why it's a great thing that they want.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, and
So,
I think,
Elizabeth,
yeah.
you have access to the Google Drive, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so in the email, the Live Love Norwalk email,
Yeah.
which I assume if you don't have the password, I'll make sure you do. But in the
Yes.
Google Drive, or basically it's our, our compendium of all our old assets and
Yeah.
various assets that we have. But that includes that Google Drive. So feel free to go in there and if there are businesses that in Norwalk or related towns that are arch friendly that we should know about, that should be a part of that database, please, by all means.
Yes, yes. I think the database is a really great idea to have every single asset, artists, broken down by businesses, by artists, by, the nonprofits, all of it. I think it's just, and then we'll figure out how to intermingle them and get things
Exactly.
connected and.
Right, and part of that database as well, Mark, that we had worked on before included properties that were city owned. So we have to delineate, what are the properties that are city owned where may give us more of an in terms of doing public art. That was part of the idea about really identifying buildings and areas and spaces that are city owned, where we could actually engage, and it would be easier for us to install public art installations.
That's true. And there's also, now we are getting into state-owned property. That's one of the things that Brian is going to talk about. It's a project that he and I have been talking about for a long time, which is basically like art on the underpasses under the highways, which is controlled by Connecticut Department of Transportation. And they have a program for murals to get created by an arts commission on their property. So there are a lot of things that we can plug into, whether it's city owned or state owned or privately owned. I think there's no reason we can't.
And we're not talking about just permanent things. We're talking about maybe temporary installations and all kinds.
Absolutely.
Totally open.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could be really exciting to have some spaces identified as rotating works.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
It
Fair
creates
enough.
interest, it drives traffic, foot traffic, all that stuff. Those all really important things. I'm happy to jump in a little bit to the DOT stuff since you brought it up, Mark, or Sabrina, do you want to wait till new business to talk about that?
No, it was under infrastructure, but
Okay.
Yeah, we can
Let's-
talk about it now, and if you want to take the reins on it, I'm happy to
Cool.
jump in if you need me.
Yeah, so my other little pet project, giant pet project is getting in touch with mostly the Department of Transportation, but the state, because we have two giant things that cut right through our city, which is I-95 and Route 7. And all of those beautifully giant bare underpasses are just ripe for the picking. So I have mentioned to Sabrina, I talked to Mark about it a little bit, that I'm happy to put in the legwork to chat with the state and get whoever we need to get on the phone to say, listen, we're responsible for covering up the graffiti on these things, so we should be responsible to put whatever we want on it. And there's some legal things and insurance things, and I think they're relatively easy hoops to jump through. So that is a big one. I want to see every single underpass under 95 and Route 7 painted. Absolutely. Within that, I think there's a unique opportunity, especially because now we have the Norwalk River Trail, which is being extended and is almost complete in terms of that extension. There are a few places where it is just the walkway that goes underneath or near, especially Route 7, but also a chunk by 95. And I think we should identify those spaces as free public art spaces.
Yeah.
For a few reasons. One, some of them are perennially getting graffitied, which means they're perennially getting covered up. which costs the city money. It costs the city money to police anti-vandalism laws. So why not identify them as space for anyone to just come and create? It literally costs the city $0, with the exception of maybe putting a trash can by these spaces, which we're going to have anyway because there's a river trail. Sabrina has already tossed the idea over to the mayor to get his take on it. Maybe I'll let you jump in, and if you have any particular perspective from him.
Yeah, so after we have a monthly meeting with the mayor's office with our chief and our departments, and I just flagged the idea to see if he would be interested in even pursuing it to make sure it's not totally against what he's valuing, and he was totally on board. I mentioned how when the Wynwood walls kind of started, and they'd like to see the underpasses essentially become that, which I think would be really cool, and they thought it was really cool. The only thing they had a concern with is how do we police if some type of profanity or something along those lines goes up. And I think, cross that bridge when we get there. But I think actually letting it happen is going to be great if we can get the state on board. So I think taking a big swing at this could be great.
I think the only thing that I know that from having explored the application for this DOT in their program, their big concern is the insurance. And so I think that would be my only trepidation on that, for the city to say we are making this a public art space. I'm fearful of the city saying, no, we're not going to do it because of the liability.
The city the mayor's on board at this point, and his perspective was, hey, come up with a proposal for exactly what locations, and then he'll kick it up to the state from his office. So it wouldn't be kind of just us, it'll be kind of politically backed from the start, which would be great.
That's
Yeah,
great.
so Sabrina, definitely took my idea and ran with it, and I commend her for it. So, I mean, I think so far it really is. I was pretty blown away that he, I mean, not blown away. He's into the art. Like, I'm not blown away, but I was surprised that he was open to this idea, and I think it's a huge step forward and a real win. So Sabrina and I are going to work on a proposal for him to, like she said, take to the state level, and that's the next really big update for infrastructure committee.
That's great. Awesome.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, so are there any comments there, or we should start?
Weberson, you're muted.
All I was saying is that I think this is an awesome idea. I'm just like, from that, I'm just inspired, and there's just like ideas floating around, and I'm curious. I don't know if it helps kind of like push the agenda forward, but I'd be interested to see if there's a potential to like, well, what in helping getting this project further, if like there was a proposal for like the city of the arts, and maybe like trying to kind of visualize or put together, like, I mean, I'm coming from an architectural perspective, right? Like a master plan of like, what would it look like in the next 5 to 10 years, like to like actually turn this into an art city, right? Like maybe included in that in the next years, like we do the underpasses, and then we do the river walk, and like, covering like 150 buildings with art, to kind of like, I don't know if that would help us in any case in like bringing these things. I mean, that's something that I'd be curious to, I could potentially like help with that, like putting together that like proposal, like almost like a thesis of sorts, right? Like,
I think that that's really valid, Weverson, especially where, Sabrina, one of the things that's, not to speak for Sabrina, she's here right now, but, being that she's basically, the officer for tourism in Norwalk, and as creating this cultural tourism plan for, for the future, for the city. And I think that's where all of what you're saying ties in with that.
Yeah.
Because it's not just creating art for art's sake, but art for the sake of branding the city as a city of the arts, which we agree that we want to do, and for bringing cultural tourism to Norwalk, for to become known as a city of quality art is something we all want to see. It's very important.
And we already have some case studies. I mean, Julio mentioned Philadelphia, Sabrina mentioned Wynwood, Miami, and we already have some case studies for these things, for ideas like this being a catalyst for bigger ideas, bigger projects like what you're talking about. I absolutely think it's worth putting in
I
scope.
think in addition to that, right, I think like we know what this looks like, right? The redevelopment agency creates master plans for like what the city should look like. Now, how often do these plans articulate in detail, like what could the actual art aspect look like, right? So I mean, it could be something that can go along with that, or just like as an example, to kind of, like it's it's something that's used in regular everyday like city development.
We could show examples of how other cities
Yeah.
are doing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's really the way
Yeah,
to
for
do it.
sure.
I wouldn't be creating new work, but certainly we can show how Wynwood Walls and other areas have created, public art places and what it's done for tourism.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's really important to have that master plan. I think if the thought was put into it to sort of look at the whole city and just sort of piece it out so that it's, just from a zoning perspective where they, you talk about when you create a city and they piecemeal things together so they never quite come out right, but just to have some kind of a master plan.
I mean, the city does have that master plan. It's called the COPD. It's something we basically put together every 10 years. The city just filed the last one, Sabrina, I think a year and a half ago. And we'll be working on the next one over the next 10 years. What happens is these master plans get created and then there's what actually happens. But it's part of like the way the city operates. It's always thinking about the next 10 years. But I agree with you from an arts perspective. There is an element of arts and culture to the COPD, but I think given within our umbrella, I think that we could definitely do as much as we can do to demonstrate that, the better.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's it. Those are the major updates from
let's-
infrastructure committee.
Let's move
Big
on to the
updates.
MLK update from Janet and Julio, and you could take it away.
So I'll just start by saying that we've been working on this project since last summer. I think right around August last year, right around this time was when we were given notice of the project, and when we started to identify areas within the MLK corridor that could potentially be key locations for an MLK initiative, public art installation project. So we've made some very good headways along with that. Julio has done a tremendous amount of work, and I'm going to turn it over to him and let him tell us kind of where we are. But from where I sit and having been assigned the committee lead on this project, we have created numerous presentations, numerous proposals. We have taken the project through location to identifying artist submissions, to actually getting actual mock-ups of artwork on particularly on specific locations that we could put under consideration. And from where we are right now, we're at the point where I know Julio has identified 3 locations with 3 specific ideas around those art installation that he would like to present. I believe just kind of based on the latest communications that we were having, that the infrastructure committees needs to approve moving forward or hearing Julio's recommendations. So I'd like to get your take on what our next step should be. But from what I understand, we are at the point now where we actually have 3 considerations, and that we can potentially present to the entire commission for a vote to move forward on. not that the vote is necessarily happening today, but from what I understand, we should be preparing for this vote to happen at our next meeting in September.
Absolutely correct. We definitely want September to be the, when we're ready to move forward. I know that we all would like to have been able to vote to see that through tonight. It's sort of now, in retrospect, it's regrettable that we didn't get to meet in July. We also went through a bit of a reorganization of the infrastructure committee. You know, we essentially, Brian jumped into that in June to reorganize that because there had been basically a 4-month vacancy when Emerson was unavailable. So I would say that those are contributing factors why, you know, we weren't able to get all the information to the infrastructure committee before now. But that said, this is where we are right now, and I'm fully confident that Brian's going to be able to get together with you, Janet, and the other members of the IC, as I've been calling it, because I get tired of writing infrastructure committee on several emails. And I think that I'm fully confident that by September, we're going to be ready to move forward.
So thank you for that, Mark. So Julio, would you like to just give us a brief on, you know, where we are and what you see as our next steps and action points?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Janet. I guess this time is best used as a review. I guess just to take everyone and bring everybody up to speed as to what's been going on since December of last year. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen if I can. So, you know, I forgot when, but when we first started talking about this, you know, we talked about the impact and viability being the determining factors and how we would choose, number one, our locations. So basically what I did was went out and did a survey of the spaces that I thought were viable for public art space or for public art. And then I ranked them in order from from public to private. So being the public spaces being the easy ones that require you know, not much approval that we already have vetted through. And then the other longer range goals as far as reaching out to private owners. And once we have the proof of concept as to what we're trying to do within the corridor, people can get excited about the project and kind of see the executions of it and want to become part of it. So here, this is the corridor here, which was identified. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And then, yeah, I'm just going to cycle through all the locations. You know, this is a set of stairs on MLK, Madison Street. Again, you know, this is a public space. You know, I've already seen some graffiti on it. It's a high profile space. You know, a lot of people use these stairs and, you know, obviously symbolically connects one side of the street to the other and literally crosses MLK. This is a pumping station at the bottom of MLK at Wilson Avenue, public as well. This is a wall, a retaining wall that I recently found out that was actually part of the railroad that used to run into South Norwalk. This is actually used to hold a train track on top of it. So this is at South Main and Wilson. This is also public space. And this literally like kind of leads you into the neighborhood of South Norwalk right there. This is another space, Nathaniel Eli School. It's got a great wall on the outside of it. It's a school. They have a after school program. They have a preschool program. So again, this is an opportunity to impact young people with something beautiful that inspires them and hopefully, you know, makes it somewhere that they want to be.
Is that a space you're still considering, Julio?
Again, I ranked them in order from viability, and these 1, 2, 3 were like, you know, already vetted. This is a space, I think, like I've told you, that this is an ongoing thing, and I wanted to identify as many spaces as possible. And then it could be something that could be done at a later time. So all of these are viable.
Okay,
This is Franklin and Eli. Again, this is a underpass for the train. Obviously, you have to deal with Metro North and with the different railroads. But you can see here that it's a dark space. So, again, you can make an impact with your public art here, if it's a lighting project or what, to make it feel more welcoming to people. Right there in the corner, you see.
Julio, I don't mean to cut you off here, but I feel like we're rehashing things we've already discussed and we've already decided on. Why?
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sorry. Why are we going over spaces we're not using for this project?
Well, I just want to outline, I think there was some confusion as to why I chose certain spaces. So, again, I'm trying to review for the people that maybe don't know about this. And there was.
I just think that I not to cut you off, I just think that, I think this is what we really need sort of worked on offline in the infrastructure committee. And like I said, I'm fully confident in you guys being able to do that. I think that you just need to
Yeah,
get with Brian and Janet and sort of like,
we've already gone through all of these spaces. We have vetted them. We've looked at the media that they represent.
mhm.
And again, where we are now is after having glean and assess and source out all of these. Julio, we're now where there are 3 viable spaces that we have asked a dozen artists to have submitted their mock-ups and timeline and ideas around the art installation. And those 3 areas are the first 3 areas that Julio just shared with you. And again, because they're public, they're within the public domain. So we felt that was, we've gotten approval from DPW and the various public organizations and institutions to move forward with that. So at this point, yes, we don't have to necessarily go through all of these locations, as it is, but we are now, Julio, if you would like to share with the group the 3 artwork that was submitted, or if you feel that you haven't seen all of the artwork and all of the submissions, we're prepared to share that with the entire group as well, which we believe that we had shared in the past. But at this point, we do have 3 considerations on the first 3 locations that we'd like to present to the commission for approval to move forward with getting a budget again to put in those art installation in place. So
But you're saying that you have 3, you're saying you have 3 specific pieces of art and everything worked out as far as like you're ready to vote on 3 specific pieces of art? Because I think that's
what
basically
we're
what we're
saying
looking
is
for.
that we had artists that we had identified those locations as the primary locations where we could put the MLK art installation. And we have asked the artists that have submitted, over a dozen artists, to have submitted their ideas around that space and that medium of how would they treat that for a public art representation. And and again, I'm just kind of surprised, because I feel that we have advised the infrastructure community. I know that Julio has advised the infrastructure community, and through this entire process since last year, have submitted numerous presentations with the artist submissions, who the artist selections were, who the various artists that were selected. We have sent them congratulatory notes that they were selected to be a part of the submission process. They have submitted their process, submitted their renditions, and we're now at the point where we can consider the various renditions that they have submitted on these 3 different locations.
I mean, you're right, you're correct, except that, you know, we had said from the beginning that this was going to be organized under the infrastructure committee, presented to the Arts Commission for voting through. So in terms of, we can't vote to approve it and then go back and select the actual pieces that we're gonna do and then figure out what the price is gonna be. That all has
I
to be
don't
worked
think
out
we're,
in
I don't
advance
think
of
we're
us
asking
voting.
for that at that point. I
What?
don't think
Say
we're
that again?
asking for that, but
I'm just saying, we're not ready to vote on it because the final choices haven't been made, the prices haven't been worked out. And
we
you
know
haven't
that.
fully, you haven't fully come to the infrastructure committee to say, these are my recommendations, this is what I want to do. And then we can, and that gets
Well,
hashed
I
out and then
believe-
presented to the voting body.
Right, but I believe that was the itinerary and that was the agenda and the purpose for I mean, I wasn't at the infrastructure committee meeting yet last night, but I believe that was the intention and the goal of the infrastructure committee last evening. And
Yeah,
apparently that did not
If it-
take
if
place
it was,
because
that-
of
that
some
wasn't decided.
confusion, yeah.
that
And
wasn't-
apparently that did not take place because of some confusion, but that was the intention of the infrastructure committee last evening.
actually, I mean, that's not entirely factual. We realized, I mean, there was some perception that some final decisions had been made on this, and we were wrong, okay? But their perception was out there because, you know, because it had gone to public showing and stuff like that, there was concern from the members of the infrastructure committee that decisions had been made. Okay, I understand now. We understand fully that was,
There were no
that was a
decisions that were
misperception.
made. No
Okay.
decisions were made on any final
Fine,
artwork or any
fine,
final piece,
fine,
none whatsoever.
I
Everything
I
was
grant
shared
you,
with
I
the
grant you,
infrastructure
I
committee.
grant you, I grant everything you're saying, but the reality is that the infrastructure committee has not had all of the information, not all of the members have been apprised. And so we need those recommendations from Julio. They need all that information, I think, fully to realize, to be able to have that checks and balances.
Right, and you're correct. That's exactly what was supposed to take place last night.
Yeah, but last night was too late. It was too late for that to happen in one night and for us to be ready to vote on that today.
I think,
Because
if I could,
But
I think
nobody was
that's gonna
asking
take a
for
week
it.
or two. I think that's gonna take some time because I don't think there was time.
I'm not
on that.
disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that the intention of the infrastructure committee last night was to go through all of the various considerations. Disagreeing with you, but the intention was for that to happen last night. Unfortunately, it was scheduled very late prior to this evening's meeting. And unfortunately, half of the members weren't able to attend.
Right, it's true.
Well,
I mean,
that's the point, is we don't have anything to vote on. That's what Mark is saying.
yeah, yeah, so we're all saying the same thing essentially, but,
I think what, you know, Janet, thank you, Janet, is that's all ready to go. That whole discussion is ready to go. And that's what I was prepared to do last night. And there was quite a bit of rehashing and going back in time and people saying they didn't see stuff. When, you know, I know that it was there, I had sent it through. Maybe not everyone got it, but I've been transparent. So that is what, you know, I think I had the impression that last night was I would share my recommendations, then we could have the discussion about the budget and why I made these choices. Like, you know, I was prepared for that discussion. So you know, I felt like tonight, you know, I have to go back and rehash everything because it seems like there is confusion as to what's been done, you know, and quite a bit of work has been done. And, you know, again, you know, my worry is that we're against the clock. And, you know, we have a lot of stuff to get through. So, you know my concerns, but I'm just saying that I'm ready to make those recommendations. But, you know, people are not ready to hear them.
No, we
Can I
we
ask
are
that
ready,
just
they
all
are,
the-
ready. We're ready
Mark.
for them to be heard. Absolutely, ready. I
Mark,
think
the
we're
only
all-
point,
We're all ready.
can we make sure that the numerous presentations, whatever those numerous are, put on the Google Drive for the
They're there,
infrastructure
they're
committee?
there, they're all
They're
there,
there.
they're all there.
Okay.
Could I
And,
ask,
and Brian, if you have that checklist that you know, you're sort of being hypothetical, but in terms of the information that you want to see to make your own decision, you know, please, you should share that with the group as well. So let's strive for this. Let's get everybody on the infrastructure committee on the same page, everybody with all the information that you need to see to have an informed discussion. Let's try to schedule it as soon as possible and let's move forward. That's what I would like to say.
Agreed.
who is on the infrastructure committee?
You, me, Nori, Melissa, Bob, Janet,
So
and
am
Mark
I,
chimes in sometimes.
I know I got an invitation to go to the meeting last night, but I couldn't go, so I'm not on it then, right?
No,
No,
are.
you are.
I had sent it to your Cherry Street email.
Okay, good. So I just have a question. So I didn't go to the meeting and I wasn't quite sure what the project was all about, but I will say that based on what I saw on the Google Drive, I saw the presentations from the artists, and what I had not actually seen was the spaces. So it looks easy enough to me that the spaces are identified and we now have presentations from artists. So it looks like it's an easy enough thing to get through from what I saw. And I don't feel like I was all that informed, but it looked like it was like there was a lot done. And
Yeah, there was. Well, Julio's done a great job.
Those are the
feel.
artist presentations. That's what Julio, you're talking about. Then there's 9 or 10 artist presentations.
yeah,
Yeah, I was referring to, I thought there were other presentations by committee members that were provided. That's what I was asking for.
There's in that document or in that folder is the list of everyone who submitted.
Okay.
And the highlighted artists are the ones that were chosen. And then the artists that have a plus after their name are the ones that actually submitted. Not everyone submitted that was chosen. Also in that document is the artist briefing. You know,
Yep,
I had an
yeah, I saw
artist
those.
briefing.
Okay.
And and then that document also had all the locations that were looked at and has the timeline and a budget. I know, we had discussed a lot about the budget, so I had proposed a budget as part of that initial document as well.
Okay, great.
is that something we can all just go look? We can all look through all the information and then we set up a time and then we
That's-
our own
Yeah.
input?
Right.
And I say, after you look up the information, if there's other information that you don't have or you don't see that you feel you need, then you should definitely communicate that to Brian, who's heading up that committee. And just saying, really, this is a period where we are essentially reorganizing the infrastructure committee. That's in truth. When I was doing it, I was working with Melissa primarily. We worked with Emerson. But now when it became Emerson leading the charge, then he became unavailable for a few months because of work. And it's just, now is a period where we are reorganizing that committee because we all see right here why it's so important. So, I think Brian's doing a great job so far, but we just have to keep pushing forward. Really what it comes down to.
Yeah, so the long and short of it is we are going to schedule with enough advance for as many members as possible to join us so we can hash out all the details in regards to recommendations on recommendations on artists, the proposed budgets, hash out some of that nitty gritty, and then we'll be able to come in the September meeting, say, as the infrastructure committee, this is what we have, this is the work that Julio's done, this is what we've select and vote on it as a committee to allow us to have these installed in September and October, which really does give us plenty of time to have these things installed and plenty of nice rainy days.
Just to update everybody here, We thought that once we approved this, that it was going to have to go to the Common Council for their approval, and then ultimately for the mayor to sign the contracts. And we found out that Sabrina now has the ability to sign the contract with each artist. And so the good news there is it saves us time. We don't have to go to the Common Council. We don't have to go through these other steps that we thought we were going to have to go through. And the good thing about that is it puts the balls more in our court as Arts Commission to see this get done, because then based on our approval, then Sabrina is basically gonna sign off. But it puts the onus on us to get the process right. And I'm basically been saying, yes, we want to see the MLK artwork get created. We want to have a successful outcome. But the main thing that we got to do is have a really, really transparent, clear process for the Arts Commission to be able to get this project done so that we can get future projects done.
Exactly.
And that's what I want to see. And
Right.
you know, we had a couple of missteps, but I feel like now is a good time for us to get back on track. So let's move on. I think that was a great conversation. Let's move on to new business. We have Oksana here, and she wants to talk to us about a proposal.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to your conversation. I am a new business in Norwalk. I started in December. I opened my own gallery studio, and I also exhibit worldwide. But finally, I came back home and I tried to deliver art to my own community. And I spoke a couple of times with Sabrina. And I appreciate Sabrina to be open to my projects, my ideas, my suggestions. And I sent her email with information a few weeks ago. And also we spoke briefly, and I have in my mind a couple places in Norwalk which I can beautify, and I can do a couple murals, and I can do a sculpture work with LED light technology. If you see on my background, there is in my gallery LED light with options to change 60 millions of shades on phone app and sync music. So one of my ideas is to do a sculpture project for Norwalk, and it's a geometrical sculpture. I try to share with you and to show you what I can do. I just give me 1 second, please, because I'm new to this app and I don't usually use this, but I can share with you.
On the bottom, you should have something that says share screen.
Yeah, I went to that screen already. I'm just trying to, because I have so many photos and I'm trying to, I find, oh, okay. So here, done. So I don't know if you see it. This is just done in Photoshop, in random like photo, what I would do. And it's the metal base in heavy acrylic outdoor with LED light installation, geometrical art. It could be managed by phone app, and also it can be synced. The speaker can be installed inside of the sculpture, and it can be managed also by phone. So public can come to this place and enjoy beauty of the nature, and also enjoy the beauty of the sculpture. And I suggested a couple places that could be Matthews Park, it could be place in right in the entrance of the beach, and it could be a place in between two roads and across of the Sono Mall. But it's also, you know, I can consider other places. The sculpture is probably like 4 or 5 feet wide and tall, probably 7-8 feet tall. So this is one number one option. But I
So
have.
would that be like a cube?
It's gonna be like.
Oh, I think we lost her.
Yeah, I love that idea. It reminded me of, do you guys know by down by Cooper Union in the village with that cube is on
Astor
the
Place.
corner?
Yeah.
I mean, that thing's been there probably 30 years and, you know, it's like world famous. I love it. I love the idea. And I think we should get Oksana together with Stephen Rust because I don't know if you guys know, but Stephen is a lighting designer. And he had done a proposal for lighting up the train bridge crossing Washington Street. He had done that several years ago. Before, you know, Oksana was calling it LED lighting, LEDs, right? LED lighting is really cheap. Back when Stephen did his proposal, it was like conventional lighting and it was going to be really, really expensive. So he did a great design for it and presentation. He just never had the funding to actually get it done. But with LED lighting, that becomes really, really affordable. And I like
I
that
think-
kind of idea.
This is Melissa. Sorry, I'm late to the meeting. I think it's a cool idea. The only places though that the places she mentioned, I think some of them are not properties that we could put stuff like in front of Sono Mall. What about Washington in the new park area there? Or would it be too crowded? I feel like they added a fountain and that might be cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
Sabrina,
50 Washington.
do you know
Massive private
additional
space.
information while we wait for her to try to connect that maybe we can?
Yeah,
chat
so
about?
basically at this point in time, she wants to install the sculpture. She's open to locations from you folks or anybody else who has any ideas for us to look at that we could potentially help her explore. And then the other part of it is that she needs funding for it. We don't have, you know, significant funding to, maybe we can, you know, chip in a little bit with our art and public places money, but we don't have enough certainly to cover the whole project considering we want to do other things. But if we could connect her with folks that would be willing to either donate or help assist her in the project, those types of things. So that's why she's coming forward, not only to get support, but to hopefully make some connections as well to actually get the ball moving on the funding piece of it.
Has she given you any sort of budget or ballpark?
She hasn't at this point. I'm sure if she jumps back on, she has a number in mind since she makes these all the time in smaller formats. But she hasn't shared an exact number with me at this point.
Where was their studio? It's here in Norwalk?
Yep, it's called the Oksana Gallery. It's in South Norwalk. It's on Haviland Street, I believe.
Haviland. Okay.
Nope, it's South Main Street, sorry. 70 South Main Street.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in the database.
Exactly. Yeah, and her.
I know.
Hardest to connect with.
No, it's great.
There's
You know,
also-
I can always tell her to come back to another meeting, but I don't think she's gonna be able to come back. I emailed her and texted her, but
Sabrina, did she do any sort of PDF presentation or anything like that?
so she has what I included in the package, which is basically just those few locations she mentioned. And then she was also hoping to do a mural on Water Street in relation to the aquarium. I told her that we could, you know, support it verbally, but it's not our property. So we really can't say, you know, yes,
Yeah.
you can do this or not. But we can certainly say, you know, we're in support of something like this happening, but not that it carries weight because it's coming from the city that you guys support it, but it's not like we can force a property owner into doing it. So
No,
This is the
That-
perfect
that's the
demonstration of that.
infrastructure thing that we were
Exactly.
talking about. The
Perfect
Exactly.
demonstration
introduction,
of it.
that's,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a valuable service for us to provide, which is introductions and, you know.
I totally agree. So her other ones were in the package as well, her ideas for the murals. It was more like aquarium focused, aquatic focused,
She's back.
nautical. Oh, she's back. Perfect. Oh, you're muted. Oksana, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm so sorry. I had some technical issues with my phone. Something happened and I had to reconnect.
No problem.
So I want to continue about, should I continue? I'm sorry.
I gave them a bit of background on what we spoke about. They were interested to know if you had any pricing associated with that so we can, kind of help support you and maybe do some fundraising, connect you with the right folks. So I don't know if you have that in mind. And then they also had some comments on locations that they found that they have some suggestions about. 50 Washington Plaza is one of them, if we could potentially put something there. And I'm sure they have some other ideas to share, but and then I started to get into the mural aspect. But you can go on from there. That's kind of all we covered.
Thank you so much for your feedback. And yeah, I open to any ideas, and your support will be very appreciated. And also, yeah, I do have a mural idea for a maritime aquarium, and I wanted to share with you the mural I suggested to do right next to the maritime aquarium. That wall is this one wall. And it could be done a nice mural in a style of underwater style. So I wanted to also attach this, show and share this mural, for example, like this one or something like this one. So I suggest idea for maritime aquarium wall. This mural would be really perfect because it will introduce kids and parents and local community to the view what they expect after they enter the maritime aquarium. That's idea number one. But also I have in mind couple walls in the downtown area, because there is so many architectural designs and beautiful landscapes and beautiful like architectural art on the buildings. And I walked around and I saw it's absolutely beautiful, but I wanted to add some kind of feeling of nature, and I wanted to do kind of like flowers or like this one here. I found just example online, and also it could be something like big flowers from that are growing from the ground, that can be also very nice, like a beautifying point for this is room, but it could be.
Oksana, are you a mural artist?
Yes, I do. I did many murals for local and like residences in Connecticut and New York. I can share with you some ideas.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could share some samples of your work. I love your ideas in general, but it'd be great to see your work as an artist.
Yeah, I'm registered on, I work with Home Advisor and top local websites who are hiring muralists for commercial and private residences. So I did couple times work for commercial residences, and I did a mural for like my biggest mural was 1,000 square feet.
Wow.
So yeah, and there is some kind of like smaller murals and 100 square feet, 200 square feet murals, and would be happy to share with you, of course.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we were saying that when you left, we were saying that, you know, the Arts Commission, one of the services that we can provide is introducing you to, like the aquarium, for instance. I know that they do have murals on some of their properties. The least we can do is introduce you to them.
Mm-hmm.
You would ultimately need to make a proposal to them, and they would have to accept. You know, we can't force them to do it, and we can't make them hire you to do it. But we can provide that introduction, and
that would be
certainly
great. Yeah.
And I'd love to see your work. I mean, we're all art enthusiasts, and artists, so we'd love to see your work.
Yeah, I can share with you. I can send a Google link. I mean, a Google Drive link with my murals and my artworks, of course, online. You can see on my website oksanatanasiv.com, and also you're welcome to join me and come to my gallery where I'm located on 70D South Main Street. It's across of police station.
Oh wait, you're on South Main Street?
Yes.
South Main Street, where?
It's across a police station.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. I'd love to come visit. Very cool. Okay, so with the time we have left, we definitely need to move on to the old business section and bring in Weverson. Weverson wants to has a request for the Arts Commission for in relation to his art manifestation. So let's turn it over to Weverson.
You're muted.
Hold on, Weverson, you're muted. Still can't hear you.
Do you want to try dialing in on the phone? Maybe use the phone number that comes in the link. If I could find it real quick, I can read it to you.
Weverson, you want to reconnect? Just jump out and then reconnect. All right.
Yeah, that should work better. If it doesn't work, I have the phone number.
There he is.
Nope. I can read you the phone number though. It's 646-558-8656. And then you'll probably need the webinar ID, which is 858-831-30425.
Brian, what is that?
The marker. Just drawn on my camera.
I think if you press *9, you should be able to unmute yourself and be able to speak now. Let's raise our hand. Let me see. Maybe it's *7. You'd think I would know this by now.
I mean, might be able to do it on your end, Sabrina, on the phone call.
Oh, *6. Sorry. I asked him to unmute, but when you're on the phone, it's weird. Nope, you should be good now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, all good.
Great.
Okay, this is kind of weird, but I'm definitely not muted on my screen, so I
You're
don't
not
know
muted on us either. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, I'm glad we got through. In any case, I just want to thank you guys again for the opportunity. And I'm sure everyone's familiar, right? Should I say something about the actual art manifestation?
No.
Okay. So, as you guys know, a huge part of the project is the mural competition. We've just finalized the 4 muralists that will actually be painting live during the festival. So, as part of the festival, right? Like, we're not going to be judging. We have Five Fingers and Jermaine as 2 guest judges. We wanted to get some artists involved to actually represent our community and have the actual kind of background and be like vetted artists to actually be able to kind of gauge some of these things, right? Both of these artists are very well known in our areas and are very skilled and have, extended resume. So we trust their ability to judge and help. We also wanted to welcome the Arts Commission. That was part of our original proposal when we reached out to the commission, asking for your support, is that we wanted to include the commission within the actual festival in some capacity. So, we wanted to open up 2 spots for any person of the commission that wanted to come to the festival and participate and be one of the judges. So as far as the actual level of commitment is that the way it's going to play out is that the artists are going to show up a little bit earlier prior to the festival starting. And their artwork is supposed to be done by 4:30. The festival goes until 6, but they'll be done by 4:30. So the judges will then kind of go and actually judge the artwork. So then by 5 o'clock, we can announce the winner. So that was my first ask for today. And then the second thing is just I wanted to bring up again that as part of the faith that you guys have had in us and wanting to actually support our event, we also were welcoming the commission to have a tent and their presence at the festival. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up so that the commission could be prepared and potentially ask questions or talk about how they would want to represent themselves at the festival, or if they would need anything from us in preparation for the festival. It's on the 28th of this month, so just want to kind of hit the ground running and be prepared.
So Weverson, in terms of the for the Arts Commission to be represented with a booth, be it a tent or a space for a tent, what would be the cost for us? Would there be any cost? And what would be the expectation be?
The booths are $200, and that's the only cost associated with it, and they do not have. The only thing is that we don't provide a tent, so you'd have to provide your own tent. But I think, Mark, you mentioned that you guys did get a tent for the night festival.
No, we have not. We did get a step and repeat, which we are going to get a frame for to be able to stand alone. But currently, we have a step and repeat.
I can get us a tent, Mark. I can order one.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
Cool.
Yeah. So then we are going to have a tent. And yeah. So then the cost for us outside of the tent would be $200.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I think that's a worthwhile expense.
And then, and I was going to kind of suggest, like, if you guys wanted to brainstorm, like, there is, for us, everybody that is getting involved, we're not requiring them to do anything special, right? You can just set up a table with a chair and sit there, whoever is going to be there. But if the commission would like to go to do something different or to kind of engage in any way, or, like, I'm open here right now to suggestions or to brainstorm how the commission might want to kind of approach this in any way. So, yeah.
So I'm really interested to see the Arts Commission represented there. I mean, I'm going to be there, just so everybody knows. I'm basically involved with doing the music production for the festival. I was involved with choosing the artists for the lineup, and I'm going to be doing the audio production for it. So I probably would not be able to man a tent or to be engaged in that way, but I would love to see others from the Arts Commission do so and be available. That's August 28th.
Correct. And the rain date is on the 29th.
I mean, that's
a Saturday.
One potential hurdle, because it's, a summer weekend. Are we going to even have, 2 people who can be there all day? I'm going to be out of town that weekend, as Weverson already knows.
Is there anybody that would be interested in volunteering to be a judge from the Arts Commission that's here now?
I would. I would.
Okay.
I think Liz would be
There you
great
go.
for that.
Elizabeth, who is an
Absolutely.
artist.
Woohoo! Sweet.
Yeah. Elizabeth's a great artist as well as a gallery owner, so I think she's perfect.
I'm
Oh,
not against.
that'll be awesome.
No, no, no.
Okay, so we can send an email around, whoever sent to the other members who are
Yeah.
not here and see if there are other people who can be available. And
Fantastic.
we can consider ideas as far as engagement. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Jan-
Okay.
Janet may have something.
And if you guys are interested in the booth, I mean, I can follow up with an email to the to the commission email with the instructions or the link to sign up and acquire the booth and kind of get the space. So you guys can do that if you guys would like to.
Mark, do we need to vote on
Yeah, I
spending
was
that
gonna
money?
say, I
And
would
then,
make a motion, this is Melissa, to spend $200 for the booth.
right, and then maybe work backward. If we don't end up having someone to man it, then unfortunately won't be able to participate, maybe.
Well, we know that
Right.
Elizabeth has volunteered to be there, so
Okay.
we'll figure that out for sure. So thank you for the motion, Melissa. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that motion, Brian Casper.
Okay, in that case, we could take a roll call. I'm going to vote aye myself, Mark Allen, and we can go to Nori Gruden. Okay.
I think she's
Nori
saying
is raising
aye.
her
Yeah,
hand.
she raised her hand aye.
Duly noted. And Bob Abriola.
Aye.
Okay, Brian Casper,
Aye.
Janet Evelyn,
Aye.
Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, you motioned, I apologize. And Kadeem Roberts, are you still there with us?
Roberts, aye.
I'm sorry?
Roberts, aye. Yes.
Okay, and just for the record, there's no opposed? And no one abstaining? Okay, the ayes carry. So the Arts Commission will be represented at the art manifestation in some capacity to be determined.
Awesome. So I can send the link for the portal, so someone from the commission can just kind of follow the links and provide all the necessary information. I mean, as far as that, so that we can, we already have all the logos and everything from the commission, so we can kind of include all of that within our marketing. And then I was just going to suggest that maybe, as part of the booth, some of the conversation that we've had and what Brian's brought up, like the master plan and trying to get other business owners involved in providing walls. I think that I believe that this is sort of the ideal environment to maybe communicate these things or create a list to actually gather some of those informations or I don't know. It just feels like it's we're going to be surrounded by artists and, we're going to have multiple patrons coming through the festival that supports the arts. So that's just a kind of random
That's a
thought
great
that
point.
come in.
Utilizing this opportunity, this very public facing opportunity to funnel in, whether it be artist contacts or even building landlords,
Yeah.
all that. Yeah, that's a great idea. Good
Yeah.
point.
Made you realize,
Or-
Oksana, had you heard about this festival before? The art
No.
manifestation?
I am participating in Sono Festival this weekend, 7 and 8. I didn't hear about this festival.
So that's just my point is that like I'm just now meeting you, Oksana. You have a gallery, an art-based business in Norwalk, and there's an art festival that was built to design to unify the arts community. So it's just a constant challenge to keep building out the arts community so that we all know each other and we all know what's happening.
Yeah, I would love to be involved, of course.
Oksana, as soon as this meeting ended, I was gonna send you a message on Instagram.
Okay.
But I also kind of another thought came around that maybe another thing that we could potentially do is instead of also just simply asking people to opt into the Arts Commission, it might be also a good opportunity to maybe highlight a couple of things that the Arts Commission has done, like even like, some of the projects that we have been involved in, like, the MLK project and things of that nature, so that the people can see, like, almost like at the very basic level, like a school project presentation with like poster boards that show like, look, this is what the commission is working for, and maybe even highlighting some of the members, like yourself, Mark, Brian, and Rob, and like, how you guys are prominent creatives in our community that are, working within the city structure to provide opportunities like this. I think it's just a game of just educating people. Just like we just proved by Oksana, not knowing what's going on with the festival. We like to think that people know what's going on and what we're doing and what we're about, but I think we just have to continuously like talk about our message, and I'm talking like as a commission, right? To really educate people of the capacity of the commission. So I think this is a great opportunity, and I'd be excited to see if you guys need anything in order to facilitate some of that stuff, please communicate. Our email is open and available. There's a lot going on, but if you guys reach out, as sooner than later, I'm happy personally to help facilitate whatever it is that the commission wants to have at the festival.
Sounds good. Julio, do you know if you're available on the 28th to do any sort of have presence for the MLK, similar to what you did at the Sono Arts Fest for the Ryan Park Festival event?
Yeah, it's already actually on poster boards, funny enough. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that would be interesting. Okay, anybody else have anything else before we take a motion to adjourn? Anybody else really just want to hang out longer?
Mark, I think we should just let the commission know about what happened with the banners down on Washington. Sabrina, you could probably explain it better.
Yeah,
than
that would
I
be a
can.
good update.
I mean, I spoke to the mayor on it, actually ran into him, so I can speak to it. So we had just installed new banners down on Washington, and apparently there was quite a bit of after hours drinking going on outside of the restaurants that the restaurant owners, I don't want to say they were encouraging, but they weren't discouraging it. The mayor called all the business owners down to the mayor's office and explained, crowd control and that the barriers would be removed if it wasn't improved. And apparently it wasn't improved, so they removed the banners, the barriers that had the banners on them down on Washington. So if you go down there, you will not see any more of the barriers, and then there's parking on the street. So it was kind of unfortunate. It was only a few of the restaurant owners that were the offenders, but they were warned and they didn't correct the problem, so the barriers were removed. And those banners were really only up for, I think, a little over a month, maybe 2 months. So that was really a shame.
Yeah, unfortunate that we spent the money on that.
Yeah, I mean, we still have
as
the
I understand-
banners, and they're generic, so we can use them elsewhere if, maybe for another project.
We can have them displayed at the festival somehow. Like I'm cool with like, like I think that, like it's all about bringing art, even if it's like we put them around the fences or, I mean, I think it would take a little bit of coordination of figuring out like how big these things are so that we can kind of plan for it and figure out where we can display them. But
let's put them on the
It's a
POCO
decent
project.
idea.
There you go.
That's a decent idea.
Well,
we can
at
actually
least those
probably put
fences are
them
in front
on
of
that fence. Yeah,
It's
like right
getting
now
them-
they just have like blue tarps.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I think the thing is getting them and installing them, because DPW installed them, but they wouldn't be installing these. I have access to them. I can probably coordinate with DPW to get access to them.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
we can get them.
We
at
own
any
them, Mark,
point.
so we could do whatever we want, I guess, right?
Yeah, we can get them at any point. Yeah,
There were 4 images that were just repeated. It was digital, so I don't think we need more than 4 because those are the 4. But yeah, I can coordinate with DPW, but someone's got to get them, transport them, and install them.
yeah.
I mean, if there's someone that can be my liaison, I'm willing to kind of like take this on and figure out how to make it happen. I mean, like if it's as easy as like picking them up and then before the festival, like zip tying them to whatever location we agree upon, I think it's easy enough and manageable, for me or somebody on my team to make it happen.
There's 6 feet by 20 feet, just to give you the size.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at right now I'm thinking, like the Poco fence. Right now, there's just a blue tarp that goes, along the whole thing.
I mean, technically,
And there are, go ahead.
technically, that's private property. It's of no issue to me personally. I would love to see them decorated and left decorated personally.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately,
I mean,
you would need to work that out, actually.
Yeah, and I think there's also other barriers around town. I think by like where Troop, there's some barriers there.
Yeah, they declined. They declined to have them covered. The ones on North Main, they declined.
Oh, okay.
They were asked, but they declined.
But in general, I think we'd all love to see them repurposed, and
Yeah.
I'm open to any ideas for the art manifestations in general.
When Brian, when we had the vote banners, there were certain locations on fences, like maybe those chain link fences, we can zip tie them to those. I don't know what.
Yeah, there was the library, which is nearby MAD, and there was what's known as Landmark Square, which is right across the street from Troop, where I think your banner was actually stolen from, Bob.
Oh, somebody stole it?
Guess it was that good.
That's great. Somebody stole it.
Someone's got it.
That means they liked it.
Yeah. Those are the only two ones over in that area. Whoever's in there might be some of the, just brainstorm here at those tops of those stairs up by the Seatown supermarket or whatever the supermarket
The
is.
tops of the fence there would be good.
Yeah. That's going to be a point where people are going to walk through.
What about the Lockwood,
Yeah.
the Lockwood mansion there? They put a lot of banners up on that chain link fence. Is that like open game?
I remember that being a whole thing. Like Emerson said it was a whole
Yeah,
thing. Where
the
you got to
Lockwood-
get
Yeah, they
approved.
used it for
Controls
their
equity.
marketing purposes for themselves.
Yeah, they're unfortunately kind of rigid in terms of.
There's a fence up by Town Hall up there too. Like there's like a little gazebo thing. Like if you're looking from East Main, I've seen some things on the fence up there. Anyways,
Definitely consider other ideas for sure.
Weaverson, send me an email and I'll talk to DPW about getting you access to picking them up if you'd like.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And if you need, beyond art manifestation, if you need them stored
Mhm.
longer term, I can help with that.
I mean, yeah, we can figure that out. What is the actual feasibility of putting them around Poco? I just feel like that has the length and it fits perfectly. I mean, not perfectly, but I think that like based on the criteria, it has. It seems that like the most likely. What is the actual likelihood of being able to do that, and who would we talk to in order to make that happen?
It's
You would
difficult
need to
because it's owned by.
Yeah,
city-
you would. Yeah, you would
Citibank.
need to speak to the property owner.
That's like at your own
Could
risk.
someone facilitate that? Like, can someone make an introduction or at least provide me contact information that I can reach out to?
I can connect you with Todd McClutchy.
Okay.
Where is
Yeah,
this?
if you do,
This is the Tyvek
it's around
tower.
Poco, like the Tyvek Tower.
Oh,
So like, there's just like, like right here, I mean, I'm looking at it right now, right? So there's a parking lot with the art manifestation is going to be, and literally the Tyvek Tower is like our backdrop. And there's just like a 6-foot fence that goes around that entire property. So, I'm right now, like the length that is kind of parallel or perpendicular to the parking lot is, easily like 200, 300 feet long. And I mean, it could go beyond that as well. I'm sure that we have plenty of runway there. I mean, I think in general, it would look nice there permanently if there's nothing else that these banners could be used for. I mean, just kind of,
I'm all for that.
it just,
I'm all for that. If the McClutchy signs off, then that's a win-win.
okay. I mean, if Sabrina, if you can send me that contact information, I'd be happy to kind of like reach out to them, let them know what's going on with the festival and what's kind of happened within the history of the banners and ask if they'd be willing to allow for something like this. And if they sign off on it, I can follow up with Rob and kind of put them up myself.
Yep, I'm sending an email right now, so you'll see it.
Okay, great. Thank
All right,
you.
great. That sounds great. Yep. Thanks for staying on.
Cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And thanks for
Appreciate
the
you
update,
guys.
Bob. That was a good one. Is there anything else from anybody else before we take a call for adjournment? We have a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second Liz's motion.
Great. And Nori, how do you vote on that? Nori raises her hand, duly noted. Bob?
I say no, I think we can talk all night. No, yes, let's end, please.
Janet?
I.
Thank you, Janet. And Melissa? Melissa?
Aye.
D'Souza? And Kadeem Roberts?
Hi, Kadeem.
Thank you, sir. And Brian, did we leave anybody out?
We're all
Hello.
set.
Brian? Nori? Okay,
We
good.
got everybody.
All right. So the party's
All right.
over.
Good night, guys.
See ya.
Have a good night,
Good night,
everybody.
Thank you for
Good
all
night.
your attention
Thank you so
and hard
much.
work.